Hello and good morning. It is the 20th of August 2025 and I am doing a follow-on video from the one that I did yesterday. And it wouldn't be my video without a yawn. So basically yesterday it did take a while for me to actually talk about what health problem I am currently dealing with, and it is basically called intracranial hypertension. Now, I have included a few links about this condition on my YouTube channels, and I am going to try and update those hopefully over the next couple of weeks to give people more information. The other thing that I've also set up is a Facebook page and Facebook group about this condition. Now, there are other Facebook pages and there are other Facebook groups that have also been set up previously, but I still have found that there's very little support out there, especially locally within the Midlands where I live, for people that are suffering with intracranial hypertension or any sort of eye condition, to be honest, that causes them to have a visual impairment, and especially when you have been able to use your sight for all of your life. Now, going blind or having conditions where you may need to have the cataracts, etc., removed from your eyes as you get older is a part of life. But to have a health condition that all of a sudden, be it something like diabetes, which then links to things like glaucoma, or with myself, which is intracranial hypertension, it is a real shock to the system, and it has been to myself as an individual. Because one of the things that I have tried to get help and support and guidance from is the hospital that I'm under, which is Coventry and Warwickshire Hospital, University Hospital. And yet there is little or no support out there for people when they start to lose their sight, or if they end up having a health condition which could potentially speed up you becoming blind or having a visual impairment. Now, when I last went to visit them to have one of my last sort of checkups, I've got another one again in September, they told me my eyesight was fine. They said that the pressure behind my eyes, basically in the blood vessels behind my eyes, has decreased. It's still there, but it's decreased. And as I'm not showing any of the symptoms that they class as severe, they're basically saying I'm going to be fine and there's nothing I need to worry about, which isn't entirely true. So it has been really, really challenging and really, really difficult, because obviously I'm living with this health condition. I am so relieved that it was discovered and it was found out before I had undertaken or considered doing anything with my life, like maybe go back to scuba diving or doing more extreme sports like I used to. But again, that was something that was, could I or couldn't I, not because obviously of this undiagnosed condition of intracranial hypertension, which I got diagnosed with in April 2025. But because for the last 6 years, ever since my youngest was born 7 years ago, I was formally diagnosed with arthritis. I was formally diagnosed with the mental health conditions that I have listed previously: EUPD, OCD, PTSD, anxiety, depression. With my blood work, I've always had an issue with that. Luckily, it hasn't manifested into leukemia or another form of cancer, but that doesn't mean it might not in the future. So again, it's something that I've been pre-warned about and have been for years, but I've been able to live with that condition. And the other condition that I obviously live with on a daily basis is bile acid malabsorption, which up until 7 years ago, I kept being told was IBS. I kept being told it was irritable bowel syndrome. It was because I was a woman. It was because I was at childbearing age. It was because I was white. I wasn't fair, fat, and 40 when I had my gallbladder removed. But again, so many people are having their gallbladders removed now in their 20s because of processed food, because of diet, because of lifestyle, etc. But I still had my gallbladder up until the age of 31, almost 32. And the symptoms that I was experiencing, with my digestion started from the age of 14. So again, it is so easy for health problems to be misread, mismanaged, undiagnosed, because what you've got to realise is your GP and the hospital, 9 times out of 10, they don't want to find out what's wrong with you. Their attitude is prevention is better than a cure. So they're saying, oh, if you have a headache, take paracetamol, and as long as that helps with your headache, they don't need to spend any more time or money that is putting a strain on the NHS to see whether or not potentially that, your headache may have been the first sign of you having something like intracranial hypertension, or a sign that there's something wrong with your eyes, or that you could potentially have the first stages of a brain tumour. Obviously you don't want to be thinking of the worst case scenario health-wise, but sometimes it's those subtle hints, and it's your body's way of saying, hang on a minute, there is something wrong with me, help me. So I always say, if in doubt, seek medical advice. You even see it on the TV all the time. If you've had a cough for more than 3 days, go see your GP. It's easier said than done, but it will always say 9 times out of 10 in any medication that you are in receipt of, whether you have purchased it yourself via a pharmacist or a store that sells over-the-counter medication. If you have taken this medication for more than 3 to 5 days, see your GP. Now, a lot of the medication that people tend to be prescribed or put on when they have certain health problems are medication you can literally just buy from the pharmacist. I could go to my local convenience store, which for me is a half an hour walk away from where I live, and I could literally buy what I needed over the counter. And if they didn't have it, all I'd have to do is cross the road and the pharmacist over the road would have it. There's also the risk now that so many people are buying drugs over the internet. You don't always know what you're getting. It may say that it's paracetamol, it might not be. So it's one of the reasons why, unless it is a reputable or well-known company, I would advise do not buy anything online. But again, that is why so many people are not getting diagnosed, because people are taking it more upon themselves to self-medicate. And again, who can blame them? Because there's been such a strain on the NHS recently, over the last several years or more, that even they will say, do not come to A&E, do not go to your GP, phone the number to speak to the NHS 111 service. I rang that number earlier this year, about 10 weeks ago now, every single day for a whole week. I rang my GP every single day for a whole week because I was suffering with severe abdominal pains. And every time I rang them, they said, what medication are you on? What are your health problems? And I kept being told, you'll be fine, you'll be fine, you'll be fine, there's nothing wrong with you. It got to the point where the pain was so unbearable that I went to hospital. And again, I was extremely lucky that I had a really, really good triage nurse, and that I went in there and it was all logged on my medical history, which is why I say to people, ring 111, because it will be on your medical records. Whether they can help you or not, that is a different subject, but it will be on your medical records. And I said to them, look, I'm being straight with you. You know, the pain I am enduring, I have only been experiencing this pain since I got put on acetazolamide. I've got diagnosed with intracranial hypertension. I have bile acid malabsorption. I don't have a gallbladder. I haven't had a gallbladder since I was 31. I am now 42. It is not gastroenteritis, all right? I've had this pain now for for a week, and nothing is working. And luckily, they said, okay, we're going to send you for a scan. And it ended up being appendicitis. Okay, that week, I was one of the lucky ones. There was people in the beds opposite me, next to me, who weren't as lucky. Who, again, it was so time critical that these people got seen, but for due to staff shortages, etc., limited number of beds, these people were not as lucky as me. And that does not mean that a complaint should not have gone in. If they choose to complain, that's their choice. Just like I need to complain about the way I was mistreated at Coventry and Warwickshire Hospital. I still have not done that yet. And one of the reasons I haven't done that yet is because I've been too busy trying to focus on my current mental health and well-being. I've been too busy trying to sort out universal credit. I've been too busy trying to sort out my housing situation. I've had so many other things to deal with, and having a limited ability because of my sight has made things a million times more challenging for me to deal with. So again, since April till August, I've been trying to live with a visual impairment and deal with all of the other issues that I've also had prior to having this added health problem. So I think it's important that people are aware of these things and that more information is readily available, and that things like if you do end up with something wrong with your eyes or any illness or disability, that there is the help and support out there. Most of the time it will be charity run or charity led, which is why the services and the information that's provided is so limited. And again, this is something locally that I feel that as a community and as living in Nuneaton and Bedworth borough, it is their responsibility, it's the council's responsibility to literally listen to the people that live in their community and to take the initiative and, the steps that are required to support the people that live in their town. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen. It's all good and well having national or regional charities, but if you still then cannot access what you need locally, that has to be done and supported by the local community. It has to be done and supported by the local council. And unfortunately, people may or may not be aware, the Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council have got a bit of a bad reputation. And the latest thing that did come out from them was, the reason why we don't have any money, or the reason why we're in so much debt, is because there's been too much of a strain on the borough locally because of people trying to claim that their children are disabled when they're not. And now the biggest problem they're having to deal with is antisocial behaviour because of the amount of immigrants that have decided to and have chosen, maybe not chosen, but have been put to live in Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council in inadequate housing, so primarily HMOs. And because of that, the antisocial behaviour that people have been enduring within Nuneaton and Bedworth has basically got worse. And the crime rate relating to this has got worse. But that is a separate issue. When you are thinking about the health, safety and well-being of the people that live in your community, that should always be one of the main priorities. And unfortunately, it's not. And because that hasn't happened, it has caused a lot more issues over the years. So I would like to obviously talk about living with a visual impairment,